Hello and welcome to Matchday 21, the Boxing Day edition of Championship Predictions from the Sport Podcast. I'm Craig Savage. With me as always is Daniel Cody and Charlie Betts. Let's have a quick recap of Matchday 20, where there were 3 perfect scores overall, 2 for myself and 1 for Daniel Cody. So me and Cody both got Wycombe versus Queen's Park Rangers right, and I got Millwall versus Forest, which also ended in a 1-1 draw. So I won Matchday 20 with 9. Cody got 7 and Charlie on 3. So the table looks like this. I'm on 144 with 26 perfect scores. Daniel Cody's on 135 with 20 perfect scores now. And Charlie is on 109 with 14 perfect scores. So let's start off with Matchday 21, the Boxing Day edition, with a Yorkshire derby. It is Barnsley versus Huddersfield. Charlie, Huddersfield picked up an excellent win over now managerless Watford.
Yeah, I want to caveat though, that was at home, and we've spoken about Huddersfield's away form, and it's just something you can't overlook. There's obviously going to be confidence. There must be momentum from beating Watford. I normally wait until Ben Foster brings his video out to see what sort of state defensively Watford are in, but to score 2 at home and keep a clean sheet against Watford, it's a cracking result. However, away from home, I just do not fancy them one bit. But in Barnsley, I don't know really. They've obviously got to beat by Swansea at the weekend, but maybe we grossly underestimate Swansea at the minute. I don't know. For me, it's quite a tough one because I think I have to go with Barnsley. I know Huddersfield have got that win and they have a bit of momentum and a bit of confidence off the back of it, but I just think their away form is so bad. Barnsley do score goals, but they're not the greatest defensively. So I'm going to have to be boring for the first one. I'm going to have to go for a 2-1 win to Barnsley.
Coach?
I mean, to be fair, you lot slated me for saying Swansea would batter Barnsley, and I was very close to a perfect score on that one, and it was dominance. Huddersfield haven't scored in their last 3 away games, so I can't see them even getting the 1. I think both of these sides are teams that are home. You bank on them to beat each other. So Barnsley are the home team. I'm going to go for them to win comfortably by 2-0.
I'm going to not go one better. I'm going to go on the fence. Huddersfield, excellent win. Regarding Ben Foster, I don't think he wants to post that video on YouTube because he made an absolute howler for the first goal. I can see this being a really good game, to be honest. I'm going to go for the Championship favourite scoreline of 1-1. Up next, at Ewood Park is Blackburn Rovers versus Sheffield Wednesday. Codes. If you don't succeed, try again for Tony Pulis. He finally gets a win.
He does. And I think it's I know they've been on a good run beforehand. It sort of highlights where some of our concerns were about Coventry, just because they haven't got that cutting edge consistently. And with a striker in January, that can change. But Sheffield Wednesday, in the end, didn't do a huge amount to win that match. But they've got the win, and that's the most important thing. A bit like Forest the week before against them, ironically. For Blackburn, I don't know what to say. I really don't. They were starting to look like the dark horses, and I think since I said that, they've got 4 points in 5 games. They've lost 3 of them. They got stoked at the weekend. I think it's becoming regular enough that it can be a thing now. So I'm really torn, and I'm going to stick in the middle. Championship's favourite scoreline, 1-1.
Charlie?
I think Blackburn will have too much. They've only lost 1 in the last 5 at home. But I do agree, Blackburn are just being Blackburn at the beginning of the season again, and that was never an easy prediction. See, I'm not going to read too much into the Sheffield Wednesday one. What I will say, it's gone very Tony Pulis, because one of the things that Mark Robbins moaned about was the state of the pitch, which has Tony Pulis written all over it, in my opinion. Another day Wednesday might have lost. So I don't think Wednesday are out of the woods on this sort of bad run. So I'm going to have to go for a Blackburn win, and I think they might open up again. I think this is the inconsistent Blackburn. They didn't score at the weekend, but I think they're going to get 3 this week. Sheffield Wednesday, no goals, 3-0.
Yeah, I think this could be a game where the 4th official might put earbuds in. However, Blackburn are miles better than Sheffield Wednesday, despite the recent up and down form of Blackburn. I think Blackburn will be too strong. I'm going to go for Blackburn 2, Sheffield Wednesday 0.
I went for a 1-1 draw and you didn't copy me. Are we serious?
There's still 10 more fixtures to go. Up next, it's Bournemouth versus Millwall at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth, 5 clean sheets in a row now. 5
clean sheets in a row. They didn't really, bar one good save, look like conceding against Luton. But I guess more worryingly, bar the first 5 minutes, they didn't particularly look like scoring. And that has happened to them in their last 2 away games. However, at home, they've been scintillating. They beat Huddersfield 5-0. They got a good win against the stern Wycombe side. They've beaten 2 very different types of teams at home recently. And against Millwall, I know they've got 4 points in their last 2. They're doing a bit better. I can't see anything other than a Bournemouth win. The score, it could be anything. The one thing I'm certain of is it'll be a 6th clean sheet in a row. That will come back to bite me on the face. But 3-0.
It's funny you say that. That's exactly what I put. 3-0.
I'll have two then.
No, I actually can see a 3-0 win, to be honest. I have to agree. It surprised me because I think we'll pick Bournemouth to win against Luton, and some Bournemouth fans moan about teams like Luton. You know, they're pretty much the same team from 2009.
I was going to say, go and look at the table 12 years ago in League Two at the start of the season.
Exactly. But we get Dave Brooks on the ball. He can create loads of chances for Bournemouth. So I'm going to go for 3-0. Are you going to stick with 3-0 or are you going to go 2?
2.
No, I was just going to add to that. I don't want to use the word banker, but it should be a Bournemouth win. Millwall, I don't know. They can be, if they want to be, they can be a bit more defensively sound than, lots of draws. I think Bournemouth win, but I'm gonna plump a bit more safe. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Bournemouth win, just because I'm reading nothing into the fact that Millwall drew with a woefully out of form Nottingham Forest the other day.
Up next at Ashton Gate, it is Bristol City versus Wycombe Wanderers. Bristol City lost to Preston away, and then they got the game before that. They lost to Millwall. 2 defeats now, Codes. Why are we rating Bristol City as another team being inconsistent?
I would argue they're not being inconsistent at the moment. That's what I accused them of, and now they've lost 4 in 5. So I think there is consistency there. I mean, they're probably on form the last 5 games, 2 of the worst teams in the Championship. But Wycombe are a very solid side. Bristol City haven't scored in 3, which worries me a bit more. But against Wycombe, will that change? I don't know. I found this one the hardest of the week, to be honest. It's the only one I haven't got a score against. I'm going to stick with the Championship's favourite scoreline because, I mean, both teams are in awful form and they're not winning games. So 1-1.
I'm not going to sit on the fence in this one. It's not going to be a 1-1. Bristol City, I watched second half against Preston. They were a lot better than what they were in the first half. They just couldn't put the ball in the net. Declan Rudd made a good save near the end. But I think they have a bit more than Wycombe. If they can keep out the set pieces, Bristol City, I think they'll be fine. But I'm going to stick with the odd goal, 1-0 Bristol City. Charlie?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for a drab, goalless one. I still think Bristol City, from all we're saying, it just seems to be out of form up front as well. It just worries me a little bit, the lack of goals, considering the firepower they've got. So on that basis, Wycombe away from home, drawn 2 in the last 5. I would imagine they're going to go with that approach again. I know it annoys me because the moment a goal goes in, then your perfect score's out the window. I just think no goals, 0-0.
Up next at the Cardiff City Stadium, it is Cardiff versus Brentford. Charlie, do you think Brentford will keep up their good away form?
But this is Brentford, and this is why I get a little bit... I know I'll predict this a few weeks, but there will be a week where they're going to blow it against someone that you wouldn't expect them to. Now, I'm not saying it's this week, but they just don't have the same air and confidence that we would maybe get from a Bournemouth or something like that, in the sense of they're both in good form. But do you know what I mean? You could probably back Bournemouth most weeks at the minute. I still don't quite feel that at Brentford. I still think there's that little edginess that they might implode at some point. Is that going to be this week? I don't think so. I think Cardiff are good at home, but I think Brentford are in too good a form. However, I do think it's going to be goals in it. I'm going to go for a bit of a thriller in this one because both teams are not the best defensively. So I'm going to go for a Brentford win by 1 goal, but it's going to be 3-2.
Coach?
I didn't really know on this one. I think Brentford are just about favourites. They've been good on the road, 7 points in the last 3. Cardiff, we got a pelter in the comments for saying that Cardiff were one of the informed teams last week. If you win 4 of your last 5 games, you're an informed team. I just thought I'd clear that up.
They were top of the form table.
I know. Now they've lost 2 in 3. I'm not going to go for them to lose 2-0 again because I think it will be, as Charlie says, a little bit closer. But I am going to go for Brentford to nick it by the odd goal. 2-1 to Brentford.
Well, I'm going to have to change the score now because you put 2-1. Because you keep moaning every week about me having the same score as you. Yeah, no, screw you. I'm going to go for 2-1 Brentford anyway. With 2 different styles of play. Brentford want to play, get the ball out wide, get the Tony and score. Cardiff want to be direct. They want to get the set pieces, let Sean Morrison try and win some headers and that stuff. But it's just the quality for me that will do it. And I'm going to go for Brentford to win 2-1. Up next at St Andrews, it is Coventry City versus Stoke. Stoke picked up a very good win against Blackburn, Charlie.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, we spoke about sort of Blackburn's maybe issues or whatever. But Stoke, I mean, we say this, I'm annoyed I didn't back Michael O'Neill because that was a perfect Michael O'Neill game. An attacking team, soak up the pressure, bosh, 1-0 win. And I'm annoyed at myself for not backing. I went for 4-2, which is ridiculous upon reflection. But the worry for me in this one, I don't think this is as straightforward as what it looks. Both teams are unbeaten in the last 5, both respectively at home and away. So Stoke last 5 away, Coventry the last 5 at home, they're unbeaten. It's a tough one to call because really my head is saying Stoke, but then can you disregard Coventry if they're in that sort of form at home? I don't know. What does worry me a little bit is whether this away form of Coventry and this lack of goals, for example, losing to Sheffield Wednesday, seeps into the home form. And I think it might start to, especially with the fixtures coming thick and fast. So I'm going to have to back Stoke. I'm going to have to back Michael O'Neill. I apologise on air for not backing him in a game that I should have done before. I'm going to have to go for the same scoreline, 1-0 Stoke City.
I think, like, obviously, Coventry at home are actually a lot better than away. Stoke away from home are not as great. They don't really score away as much. So it makes all sense to go for 1-1. Coach.
A similar approach to you, Craig, but I haven't quite got to that because Coventry's last 2 home games, they drew 0-0. Stoke's last 2 away games, they drew 0-0. And to be fair, Coventry fans did say about 5 weeks back that they would go on a little run because they're playing against teams that are more winnable in their eyes. And now they're coming up to a tougher run. So you could argue the opposite may happen. They'll be disappointed with the Sheffield Wednesday game. But based on the recent results, I have to go for a drab game, 0-0.
Up next at Pride Park is Derby County versus Preston. Derby did not play their game against Rotherham because of COVID in the Rotherham ranks. So we'll get to Rotherham in a minute. Preston, on the other hand, they are now winning at home and not winning away. This is very hard to actually predict. Do I go with Derby, who are currently in form, haven't really conceded as much recently, or do I go for the odd Preston? They're actually going to batter someone away from home, like they did against Bournemouth. I generally do not know which Preston will turn up, so I'm going to go for this Preston team actually turns up for once. I'm going to go for them to win 2-1. Cody.
So the one thing that really worries me about Derby is they are the team that probably least wanted a weekend off because they were, as you said, they're flying. They hadn't conceded in 4. They haven't lost in 6. Wayne Rooney's doing really well. But Preston, as you say, it's just completely flipped. They were awful at Luton. They were poor at Barnsley. Against Bristol City, as you say, I did slate Declan Rudd the week before for the Luton game. So I've got to say he made a brilliant save in that one. But I don't know which way to go with this. I think it's probably going to be a dull game. And for the second time in a row, unbelievably. No, I'm not. 1-0 Derby.
Charlie?
Oh, I don't know. This is so hard because we said about Preston, they've let in 15 goals in the last 5 away games. But within that last 5, they then beat Bournemouth 3-2. So how do you go with that? So my heart's saying that I think Preston might return to form having got a win on Friday night. My head, though, has to go for a draw, I think. It's my first one of the day. Championship's favourite scoreline. I think I have to go for 1-0.
Up next at the Riverside Stadium, it is Middlesbrough versus Rotherham. Middlesbrough, another convincing win. They battered Birmingham 4-1 at St Andrews. Rotherham obviously didn't play their game. Charlie, Middlesbrough, relentless at the moment.
Away from home as well. I mean, they were not great away from home. You know, lost to Stoke and things like that. And then they pulled that one out of the bag against what we would always probably argue is a fairly defensive and sound Birmingham side. I never would have called that, you know. But is that the Neil Warnock effect? The problem is with this Middlesbrough side is can he do it 2 games in a row? I would like to think at home Middlesbrough must be too strong for Rotherham. For me, it has to be a Middlesbrough win, but I just don't know what scoreline because sometimes it's a 1-0 and then you get that. I think Rotherham are woeful away from home. They've had a break, obviously for obvious reasons. So I'm going to go for another thumping, sadly. I think Middlesbrough are going to hit a bit of form again in front of goal like they did at the weekend. I'm going to go for my favourite scoreline that hasn't come in yet, 3-0 Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I think we're all going to have to agree on a Middlesbrough win, I think. I know we haven't even got the Cody yet, but obviously depending on how many Rotherham players are fit, if the game goes ahead, we don't know. Middlesbrough at the moment, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. It might have been on Sunday league football against Luton, but last Saturday they were fantastic against Birmingham. And at home, they're scoring for fun again. But I am going to go just for 2-0 to Middlesbrough. Coach.
In all seriousness, it probably does show how good Luton were at Middlesbrough and how well they were set up because the other games recently, obviously 2-1 against Swansea, who were expected to be right up there, and then they thumped Millwall. You can't back against Middlesbrough at home. It's something we very rarely do, and we're normally proven right. But Rotherham on the road are just as bad. So it could go either way. As Craig mentions, the game might not go ahead based on the 10-day isolation. It also might be a very weakened Rotherham team. We don't know that. We've seen both outcomes across the EFL this year. So I'm going to go for a Middlesbrough win. And actually, because of that, I'm going to go big. Do you know what? I'm just going to go all out there. I'm sorry, Rotherham fans. 5-1 Middlesbrough.
Up next at the City Ground, it is Nottingham Forest versus Birmingham. Code, a day to forget for Neil Etheridge.
Yes, I mean, he was getting a lot of praise, rightly so, for the Cardiff game, even though they eventually lost that. But then he was not great at the weekend. And Birmingham, again, after just saying they were getting back to a stout defensive way, they've lost 3 games in a row. They've conceded 7 in the last 2. Nottingham Forest are starting to find form again. And if there's ever a game they wanted, it must have been this one. Karanka out was trending. I know Watford have come and stolen the show. But Karanka, if he loses this, I am so sure he'll be out. And as a result, I think Forest will win it. They've scored in their last 4 games, albeit not more than 2 in any of them. And I'm going to go for them to nick it. 2-1 to Nottingham Forest, but it'll be a home win regardless.
Charlie.
I'm going to go for a Forest win. I think there'll be 1 goal, and I'll tell you for why. Forest against Millwall, 4 shots, 1 on target. On that basis, I have to go for a 1-0 win to Nottingham Forest. I'm going to back Forest now. Hughton has turned the corner. This is when it begins. Come on, Nottingham Forest, 1-0.
Come on, Nottingham Forest for all three of us, are going to be honest. And it's the same scoreline with Charlie.
Oh, I was so sure that was going to be a different answer.
No, because Birmingham, I generally think Birmingham are the second worst team in the Championship.
That is really.
But that's my opinion. Forest, on the other hand, if they can get the strikers to score, that will be the pleasing thing for me. Because they've got quality there. They just not. I don't know what's going through their heads at the moment and just not score. All right, they got the point. But if they can cut out the crap defensively and start scoring, they'll be fine. But I think it'll be the odd goal. I'm going to go for 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. Up next at the Kieran Prince Foundation Stadium, it is Queen's Park Rangers versus Swansea. Charlie.
Yeah, no, Swansea, as I say, and I'll hold my hands up to it. I think I underrated them a bit. I said they were in a bit of a loss of form, I think, in the last episode. And QPR, just to go back to Swansea in a second, QPR are just not in any great shape at all. I know they got a point against Wycombe, but you'd imagine they'd be slightly disappointed with that. They're getting closer, they're just edging ever so slightly closer and closer further to that relegation zone. You shouldn't have a club like QPR down there. Swansea, on the other hand, have been brilliant. Even if they've not been playing well, they have been picking up points. So I have to go for a Swansea win. Is there going to be a lot in it? No, I'm going to go for a repeat of the other day, 2-0 Swansea.
It's one of those where if Swansea can turn on the form, be ruthless, they can destroy teams, in my opinion. It's a weird one with QPR again, and this is like, they could be so good on their day, and then they could be absolutely rubbish when they don't get anything their way. But I think it'd be a lot tighter than you think, and I think Swansea are going to nick this one 2-1. Coach.
Well, I guess based on that and Craig's statement at the start of his that this is going to be my bold one of the weekend, because Swansea, yes, they've been good this season, but they've only won 2 of their last 8 away games. It's been at home where their form has largely been coming. And QPR, albeit they've been in poor form generally, they have drawn 3 of their last 4 games. They got a good draw at home to Stoke, who are a very good side, and when they're set up defensively, they don't concede many. So I've got a feeling this is going to be a poor game and it's going to be a draw. And it's whether I go for 0-0 or 1-0. And I don't know. So I'm not going to go for either. I'm going to go for 2-0.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that. Right, up next at the Matchday, it is Reading versus Luton Town. Obviously, they met in the League Cup and Luton won 1-0. And they will meet in the FA Cup, 3rd round, in a couple of weeks' time. Code, you watched Luton, not at the ground, unfortunately. Were they good for the point?
Well, the first 5 minutes, I said to you, this is going to be a very long day because it didn't look good, to be brutally honest. But after that, I would argue it was a fairly even game, but Luton probably had just about the better chances, albeit there were still a few threats on the counter. So very good value for the point in my eyes, and none of us obviously saw that coming. But on the roads, Luton's form's starting to dip. Only 1 point in the last 3, haven't scored in any of them. Not conceding many, to be fair, we're doing all right at the back, but it's going to be a low-scoring game, whatever. And after back-to-back defeats, Reading will bounce back and get something. But I think it's going to be a draw. So I'm going for the Championship's favourite scoreline of 1-1.
Charlie.
Yeah, I had that in the back of my mind, but I do think that this has to be the turning point for Nathan Jones away from home. Now the fans are not back in and all of that. If it was at home, Luton are unbeaten the last 5 at home, only 2 draws in the last 5 away from home. But I do take comfort if I was a Luton fan from the last 2 home games for Reading. They lost to Norwich, admittedly, but they also lost to Birmingham 2-1, who we've spoken about, have got their problems. So as a Luton fan, I'm not a Luton fan, but if I was, I would take a bit of comfort out of that. And I can see a repeat of an away win. I don't think Reading at home, I just think against a Luton side that hopefully will set up in a more structured and robust manner than other teams that have gone there. I think they might sneak one. I think it's not going to be great. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think it'll be a 1-0 away win for Luton Town.
Well, yeah, someone has to go for another Luton win, to be honest. Reading, they got battered against Brentford. From the consistency Reading had at the start of the season, it's been up and down. But I've got a really good feeling that Luton are going to sneak this one. They were excellent against Bournemouth, to be fair, when you look at it. Unlucky against Middlesbrough, to be fair, wasn't the greatest. There are clean sheets in there as well. But they won't keep a clean sheet in this one, to be honest. But I think Luton will sneak this one 2-1. And the final game at Vicarage Road, it is managerless Watford versus Norwich at, oh God, where do you want to start with this? Because Watford were utterly terrible against Huddersfield. Charlie?
Yeah, we're not going to give away too much from our episode about their manager or managerless Watford at the time of recording. But yeah, I don't know. There's obviously something happening there, as we discussed in the other episode. It's whether they appoint someone, because we were recording this a few days before. If they appoint someone between now and that game, you two particularly have spoken about Barnsley, the impact of a new manager bounce. But we're going the information of them being managerless. So my prediction is based on them being still managerless by Boxing Day. I think Norwich have just been in such great form away from home. Watford are stronger at home. We have spoken about how they're bad away. Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. Okay, I'm going to go down the middle. 4-goal thriller, 2-2, because I don't know whether Watford are going to have a manager or not.
Coach?
Well, the one thing I'm certain of that Charlie's gone for is that Norwich will score 2 goals because they've done that in each of their last 5 games and they've won them all. There is no chance Watford won't have a manager in place. They always have a manager turn around quite quickly. It's almost certain that they know who it's going to be already. And we're recording this, 5-6 days before. So there's going to be a manager in place by then. The new manager bounce, I mean, we've talked about it in almost every new managerial special, and it's been present in almost all of them. So that's really given me a spanner in the works. But given the unrest off the pitch at Watford, given some of the bizarre statements coming out and what we talked about in the Watford episode, I'm still going to go for Norwich to nick it. And I think Norwich are going to run away with the league now. It's going to be 2-1 to the visitors in my eyes.
I think we're all going to have to agree that Norwich is going to score 2 goals. It's whether I go for a Desmond or copy Cody's scoreline. And that's the main important thing about it. Watford were terrible. Obviously, Ben Foster doesn't want to watch what happens. Norwich, on the other hand, excellent at the moment. Excellent battle. They're on that form that they had 2 seasons ago when they were in the Championship. They're just picking up wins. Nothing spectacular, but they're picking up wins, and it's quite the odd. Well, 2 goals, fine, no problem. No one's going, they're not raving about Norwich, but they're picking up wins. If Troy Deeney plays, obviously he wasn't playing because of disciplinary issues. He probably will play now. Now the manager's gone, but I can see it's just been rotten there. So I think Norwich are going to win 2-0. Let's have a quick recap of Matchday 21, the Boxing Day edition of Championship predictions. Charlie's gone bold on 2-3-0s of Middlesbrough to win, beat Rotherham, and Blackburn to beat Sheffield Wednesday. Cody's gone for a really wild 5-1 win for Middlesbrough as well. And I've just copied Cody once this time. And those are our predictions. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know in the comments section down there. Give us your predictions. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. You can follow us on Twitter @HonestFootball3. And we wish you a Merry Christmas. We'll see you next time.